What?
It's like the emergency alert system, but for when a mob boss dies. Okay. You know?
Everybody's phone goes off with an Amber Alert.
Yeah, just...
How's it going, everybody? Tony here from Kapowcast, bringing you yet another week and another recap of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And of course, as for the past two times, joining me is Christy.
We're back.
And today we are discussing episode 3, which is entitled The Power Broker. Initial thoughts compared to the last two, it was much more of a filler kind of episode, giving us a lot of kind of plot layout to like move it through. So obviously, being a child, I would say out of the 3 episodes we've seen so far, this is probably the least favorite of mine. Not saying that that's bad. It's just, you know, I'm pretty sure I have ADHD, so
the attention span is lacking there.
Yes. I get very bored very easily, and I'm like, move along. But it did, you know, obviously keep my attention well enough, I will say.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm quite the opposite. I love getting into the story of things. So to get these little twists here and there and to see where we're going with things, I was pretty excited. And there were a few things that I would be like, just as soon as they were losing my attention, they'd pull me back in. I'd be like, what? Yeah. So I liked it. I liked it.
There was a couple things that you kind of had a hunch about that we find out was true.
I was right.
You were right. Yeah, I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, Christy called it. Christy called that crap. There was a couple things that happened that like I kind of got a little better feeling for our and I guess you'd say, I guess are they in the, I don't know if they are the antagonists or not, but the Flag Smashers. I think I was like right, but by the end I'll be wrong. Like where I'm like, okay, I think these guys are doing good, but now they're trying. There's a transition happening here in this episode that it's just like, oh no, I could be wrong. Like I think over here I was right, but by the end I'm gonna be completely wrong here.
I think there's some ulterior motives in there, or they're grasping like their main goal is good, but they're justifying the bad shit they're doing with the main goal that's good, and it doesn't balance out in the scheme of things.
Yep, there's a line that they will cross that they have already partially kind of tiptoed, where it'll make it they're doing bad.
Yeah.
All right, so to roll into the top 5, number 1, we are calling Bucky and Zemo Picnic Embrace. And obviously, this is the portion of the show where we see our 2 heroes, Sam and Bucky, meeting up with Zemo in the Berlin? I think he's in Berlin, right?
I think so.
I'm like 90% positive, but I'm terrible
at that. He's somewhere in Germany. He's in a German prison. We know that much.
And Bucky and Sam, they're walking through, and Sam tells Bucky tells Sam to hold back, and you know, you're an Avenger. He doesn't like your kind around here. And Bucky heads in to see Zemo. Now, initially, like, I just thought the worst. I was like, oh my God, he's going to rattle off those 7 words and we're going to see some terrible stuff happen. And then like I turned to Janelle. I was like, did they fix that in Wakanda? I don't remember if they fixed that in Wakanda or not. Like, is he going to go in there and he's going to say those words and he's going to get mind erased again? And she's like, no, I'm pretty sure they fixed it. I was like, I really hope so, because I don't know if I could deal with this.
I know, yeah. Is the therapy working? Did Wakanda work some magic? Or are we going to be just witnessing the slaughter of an entire prison group? We'll see.
He walks into the room, and as soon as he does, like, Zemo starts saying the words, and I'm just like, oh no, oh my God. But Bucky comes out and he's like, no, that's not today. Not today. That those that don't work anymore.
Fully unimpressed. He just not today, Satan.
I was kind of like, I was taken back when Zemo apologized for doing what he did to Bucky. You know, he says something about, you know, you were the means to a necessary end. And I was like, what? Like, I'm kind of flabbergasted that it sounds like you actually mean this apology.
I know. Although he's a smart guy. And ultimately, I mean, we see later in that scene, ultimately, he truly understands that mass production of super soldiers is not a good idea, especially ones that are basically like a police canine unit that answer to command words. Like, it's not a good idea. So I think now he's like, yeah, I was thinking about it, and I'm real sorry for messing you up, bud. My bad.
It's I always say that a good villain is one that makes you question your moral standpoint as a human being, and that's why, like, I think Zemo is like a really good villain, and especially in like the MCU version of Zemo, really makes it like question your morals, because like he, like I said the last time, he talks and people listen. Like, you have no grasp on the factor of like, wait, why am I like feeling like I'm agreeing with this person when I should not be agreeing with this person? And it's those villains that I'm just like, yes, this guy is a great villain. And, you know, I'm really glad that Zemo's come back for this series, especially since I feel like I really personally did not give him the time of day in Civil War. So to see him back in action and get a little bit more it's good. I'm really happy to see him make an appearance again. And he did not disappoint. He delivered, I don't know, like 5-10 monologues in this episode.
I mean, as you fully predicted he would. They really use his acting chops to their advantage here to deliver said story-heavy episode.
Yeah, that was probably what helped me pay attention, was like they had him like dwindle out the plot and the plans and everything, and I was like, like he just said the 7 words and I was the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, they've got you trained now. You've watched it so much that it's those words trigger you into just being super obedient. There we go.
I'm gonna wake up to nightmares of me killing people's kids on business trips.
You know, just collateral damage.
But yeah, so Bucky and Zemo, they're talking, and you know, Zemo pretty much calls out why Bucky's there, like to a T, as to like when he hears, oh, there's Winter Soldiers and we need you, you know, what do you know about this, et cetera, and he just like calls it exactly on the T. Like, you think Hydra's behind this and you don't know where to start, and that's why you're here, and that makes you desperate. And like Bucky's standing there cold stared, like, but you can see, yeah, that's exactly why I'm here. And then we cut to Bucky and Sam looking like they're kind of like breaking into this establishment of some type. There's flashlights and they're arguing back and forth, doing there's little slapstick stuff. And they do the next part where they show the prison break scene, probably in one of the best ways that I think possible, because like anybody can shoot a prison break scene and to tell a story, but to tell a story in, well, I guess this wasn't even like past tense. It was like a hypothetical.
He's like, all right, here's the plan. And they filmed it as they went through it, but it was actually happening in real time. Yeah. So they saved quite a few minutes of the episode doing that. And also it was a great like surprise device that they used, because then Sam was like, no, dude, I'm out. This is why. No, I can't be in the same room as him.
Yeah, this the dynamic furthers a little bit more with Sam and Bucky, where Bucky's, you know, the Leroy Jenkins, like I said the last time, the Leroy Jenkins of the group, and just kind of wings this escape plan out of nowhere, it seems, and it goes off flawlessly. Like, I don't know who came up with the plan. I'm willing to accept that Zemo came up with the plan, and Bucky was just the pawn. Like, okay, you have to give this to the bald guy playing chess with the other guy, and that'll be enough. I'll take care of the rest of it. And
I think it was a little bit of both. I think Bucky, knowing full well the politics within a prison group, he brought in the little fortune cookie slip and was like, all right, Zemo is going to poke holes in my plan so he can figure out the rest of it. But I know for a fact there's at least 2 gangs in this present group, and I'm going to make them fight like that. So I think it was a little bit of both. But yeah, Zemo, I'm sure, was like, this is not going to work. We're going to fix this and this. But yeah, let's do it.
They play out through this I'm calling it a montage because I don't know what else to call it. And then Zemo comes walking in through the door of this establishment that Bucky and Sam are crawling around in. And Sam just kind of like is like, oh, no, I can't. No, you're going back to jail. And Bucky's like, no, like we need him. He's the necessary evil. And there's some banter between the 3 of them that was really good. And I don't know, like, who do I give props to? Do I give props to the writers of the show, or do I give props to the 3 actors that are on set together and have this weird chemistry and they've never really worked together?
I think a little bit of both. The writers, I mean, you have to have a strong writing staff to be able to write it out, but then the actors have to be able to deliver it well enough. And I think they've got some really good actors on their hands here. So a little bit of both, but I like the writing overall and the episodes so far. So yeah,
it almost feels like they have one of the writers from the Lethal Weapon movies, like just at least sitting by going, hey, like, would they do this and how would this play out for them and all this other stuff?
Some kind of buddy cop something. There's somebody.
They have actually
Brooklyn
like crazy.
Nine-Nine or Lethal Weapon something.
Oh yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine would be a good one too. So we find out what they're breaking into is almost like I don't know, like a car museum or storage lot, and we find out that all these cars are Zemo's over the years that his family has collected in one way or another. We also find out a lot more about like Zemo, MCU Zemo, that he actually worked for Hydra, hunting down people that were trying to recreate the super soldier serum, which is like crazy in my mind that like Hydra was hunting people down that were trying to recreate it. I figured they want people to be like with them that would create it, but I guess I don't know what the case bias would be.
You got to pare down the competition. They don't want anybody else getting their hands on it.
Right. And so Zemo's been in this business of killing wannabe super soldiers for apparently a really long time, even further back than Civil War. So that was pretty crazy to kind of get a glimpse into the past of what he did, because up until now, with what we knew in Civil War and all this other stuff, is he was just kind of like a Sokovia like soldier, and his family was his family's death was a byproduct of the Avengers, and that's what he was doing. And we find out, thank God, that it's a little bit more than just he was some random soldier, because that was kind of the one thing that I was kind of like, that's a little bit light. Like when we seen that in Civil War, I was like, that's a little light. Like that, it feels like shoehorned in.
Yeah.
So we have our introduction. We see that we get a little peek-a-deek at his Zemo mask, his classic Zemo mask, which I think I like. I have to see it a little bit more to really kind of like draw a conclusion if I like the design or not.
Yeah, I think it was too brief of a glimpse in this one. I gotta sit with it for a minute.
The thing is like, what's his face? He has those almost like, this doesn't sound like an insult to the guy, but it's not. He has these like soul piercing eyes that look really good through that hole of the holes of the mask. So I don't blame them for keeping his eyes visible, where like the Zemo eyes of the comic book are just kind of like white portioned off, and you know, it's whatever. Have his eyes exposed actually kind of like brings this odd creepiness to that mask. And that little scene brings us to our number 2 moment of the episode, which we are calling Zemo Flights International, where we see our 3 colleagues, our 3 weird best friends.
3 best friends.
It's going to be like a step-by-step montage now.
Three's Company with
on an they're on an airfield, and they're heading to what looks like a private jet, which we find out is actually it's Zemo's, and enter how he actually how the Baron of the Zemo is incorporated into the MCU. He was actually, his family was royalty before the Avengers blew up Sokovia, and so he is an actual Baron. Which I don't know what is that in a royal family, because that's above me. Like,
I'm not sure. All I know is he's rich, and that's it.
Rich enough to have a really nice private jet and a
fleet of cars.
Yeah, and a sweet little butler.
Yeah, he's the cutest little man.
I'm going to take you home, little cute man. And they load up into the jet, and this is where I'm telling you, this guy he basically lays out the plan. He also messes with Bucky some more. I don't know why he feels the need to just poke a bear with this, but somehow he gets his hand on the little notebook, and we see a little instantaneous like snapping of Bucky, like, don't touch my diary or I'm gonna kill you. And
yeah, I think he's curious to see if the Winter Soldier is really gone, like Bucky says. So he takes every instance that he possibly can to test the waters and see how quickly can I make him snap. Where's my boy at? Bring him back.
He seems very obsessed with that. Like, okay, is the Winter Soldier gone? Because like, I don't think he's gone. I think he's still in there. Because he always says these real snarky things when I would say reminisce of the Winter Soldier come to the surface. But he kind of toys with our heroes a little bit in this scene. That with Bucky, and then he turns on Sam and kind of I guess diminishes the aspect of what Captain America is and how that as a hero is flawed. And this was another instance. He's talking and like, dude, I have nothing whatsoever against Steve Rogers. I love Captain America, but this guy talks and he's saying all this stuff and I go, yeah, that makes complete sense. That does it. I can and I'm like, no, he's talking bad about Captain America.
I know, but if you think back on the series, like the MCU overall, this is criticism that's come from the American government, that has come, I mean, the Sokovia Accords themselves is like, okay, well, like, you're heroes, yes, but we all just stand in unison. And like, there's been discussion before of we can't put them on too high of a pedestal or they're gonna like live above their means as far as what they can do and what's right for them to do.
Right.
So, I mean, he's not wrong. You can't put someone on so high of a pedestal they become no longer human and they can't be held to the same rules as everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Even if they're not human, like it's still a whole thing. So right. I mean, he's not wrong.
Because there's a point where like they surpass the hero status and they start to become a god. You know, setting him putting him up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of truth behind what he's saying. And then he closes it off with, that's why I killed all the other super soldiers. And it kind of snaps your brain back like, oh yeah, like you literally killed like 8 guys while they slept. Like,
yeah.
And there's the border. There's the borderline there. But we see them basically creating their plan as to what's about to go down. And which leads us kind of into number 3, which is we're calling Find Me in the Club. And we see...
Or Club Going Up on a Tuesday. That is my alternate naming.
Which we see them show up in a, I guess, ex-pirate town. Like it used to be like a pirate town in like the 1800s or something like that. But it's kind of like, it's grown, but it's kept the pirate ways, which was a very interesting aspect. And this name has not, it hasn't rung a bell comic wise. I can't really place it in my memory. But what you said it earlier.
Magapore.
Magapore.
Actually,
it sounds. I don't know. Madripoor. Madripoor. I don't know. It's pirate
It's Indonesian.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Yeah, pirates.
But they show up here, which they have like an armed escort to they're going to Lowtown. Apparently there's a Lowtown and a Hightown. Once again, we get into this terrible naming. But they're going to Lowtown, getting down low. And they have armed escort to Lowtown, which out of nowhere, like I don't know if that's like Zemo's MO or what's going on.
That's got to be Zemo. He's like, listen, he already said when they were on the bridge thing, he was like, I don't have friends here. Nobody likes me here. So probably he was like, listen, I got to bring my guys.
I don't really like understand like what the armed escort was for, but whatever. Armed escort pulls out of nowhere, surrounds their car, takes them to the club zone, which looks like the strip in Canada that all 19-year-olds go to from Detroit. All
rolling up in Windsor here.
Yeah, mixed with a little bit of like Cyberpunk 2077. Nice look. I'm not dogging. That's not even bad stuff to talk about. Like I like the overall look of the area. It really kind of like, pinned on that message of, Pirate Town. And they end up going to this club, which apparently everybody in this area is illiterate. They just talk in pictures. So it's you have like a gorilla picture, but you said it was, what was it called? Gorilla?
It's called the Brass Monkey. The Brass Monkey. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So they
Beastie
go into
Boys
this
fans out there.
Yeah. So they end up going to this club to meet up with, I guess, some sort of like mob-oriented boss named Selby?
I think
it's
Selby.
I don't know. The closed.
I'm really bad with names. We're trying.
the closed captioning on Disney Plus spells it Selby. So
okay,
take that with what yeah, take that how you want it. But they're all apparently in. Well, no, I'm sorry, they're not all in disguise. Like Zemo's supposed to be Zemo. Bucky is playing the role of somebody who, what Zemo say that was so elegant, someone you thought was dead, which he's referring to like he's gonna have to be the Winter Soldier again. And then freaking Sam's like, I don't even know who he's like supposed to be, if he's some sort of like influencer from Instagram or something, but he's supposed to be imitating this guy. And
yeah, the smiling tiger.
Is that what it was? Yeah, smiling tiger. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And the demeanor in which Sam is like taking this, I pinned it right away. I said Sam is gonna screw this all to hell. Like Sam is he's gonna be the guy that sends this plan crashing down. So they walk into this bar, and the first order of business is to get drinks. Obviously, if you've ever been to a bar, you walk in, you order the drinks, and the bartender apparently recognizes him as the smiling tiger and asks if he wants his normal. And of course, like Zemo has stressed a couple times to this point, we need to stay in character. Like we can't let this break. Like you have to stay in character or we're dead. And he's like, yeah. So then this bartender pulls out like a ball python, I think it is, and cuts something out of it. I don't know. I'm not a smart guy, so he cuts some sort of like organ out of it, puts it in a shot of what looks like bourbon of some type, and hands it to Sam. And he drinks it. And I'm like, okay, good on you. Like you weren't totally smooth about it, but at least you did the shot like a man. So then we go in, there's a little bit of roughage with, I don't know if these are other pirates or because they didn't really have introductions, but one guy walks up to Zemo and was like, hey, we got a word on high that you're not allowed here. And this guy apparently has connections with the power broker, who apparently is like a big deal in this town. So this guy walks away, and then another guy decides he's going to come up and try to strong arm Zemo. And this part was good. He says in Russian, Winter Soldier, attack. And then like with almost zero hesitation, Bucky flips this switch, and all of a sudden we see this look on his face that we haven't seen for a few years now, and you see the Winter Soldier come alive on Bucky again, and he just wrecks these guys in this bar. And good God,
full-fledged, goes right back into it. It's so good.
It's
so good.
All right, truth be told, I watched a movie, a horror movie with Sebastian Stan a couple weeks ago from like 2011, and it was terrible. This man's acting has gone leaps and bounds from that movie, because this transition where like he's Bucky Barnes 1 second and then the next second he's the Winter Soldier all over again, which, by the way, hearing that instrumental piece that was his music in Captain America the Winter Soldier, and hearing those screams again sent goosebumps like all over my body. I was like, oh man, like they dialed this in. Like this means something. This whole scenario means like way more than what we are seeing currently at this time. If you have a new score for this character. So that happens, that was insanity. I think I rewound that a couple times each time I've watched it. So essentially the whole Winter Soldier scenario in the bar is apparently enough to convince these people, and all of a sudden they have a meeting with Selby, or whatever her name is.
Selby.
Yeah. So they end up going in the back, and they meet up with this said person, and they are trying to negotiate to find the doctor who has recreated this super soldier serum, which apparently she knew, right? Like, she knew.
It's more information on the power broker. I don't remember if she has information on the doctor himself or if that's found out in a minute.
She has his location. I know that she had his location because she flaunted the factor of, you're not going to find him without me, so you can't kill me.
True, that is true. So yeah, they offered to trade the Winter Soldier for more info on the power broker and the doctor.
Yeah. Which Bucky just stood there like a good actor.
I was going to say.
Like he hasn't lost. Yeah. He hasn't lost the spy portion of him at all. While the camera, I don't know if you noticed, the camera keeps flashing back to Sam, who just like looks completely awkward, like he has no idea. Like he's the Ricky Bobby of the group. He's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. And I'm just waiting this whole entire time. I'm like, what is Sam gonna do that's going to wreck this whole thing? Because he's going to do something. And all of a sudden we hear his phone start to vibrate. And I'm like, no. And he pulled it out. And when he first pulled it out and then you see the name on the screen, I thought it said Sharon. But it said Sarah, which is his sister. And then Shelby tells him to answer it on
speaker.
So he answers it on speaker, and I mean, good on him. He tries to like wing this conversation like to his character, which was like, I don't know, like it was cringy, but it was
so bad.
It was one of those things where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be cringy, and you're just sitting there and you're just like, oh no. And I thought he almost had it, and then his sister said his actual name, Sam, and not his code name. And apparently that was enough to be like, kill him. And then like she orders her hitmen or whatever they are to kill him. And then she gets shot through a window. And that's where I was confused. Like, okay, who killed her? Because I don't think that it was the person that's about to come in to the story. So I think it was somebody else killed her. I don't know who yet, but I don't think it's one of our heroes or their associates.
See, I'm the opposite. I think it was her. I think she heard they were in town because who comes in with an armored convoy of people and you don't hear about it on this tiny little island. So I think she was like, what? So she showed up, she was tailing them and planned to run into them. I think that overall in the grand arc of our storyline, this person has a larger role to play than just this little blip, I think.
Yeah, there's something that happens towards the end of the episode. Little whoop. Most people would probably write it off. That I go, there's more to this. Like, I think there's a lot more to what she's doing in this place and all that jazz. But so they kill, or whoever kills this head honcho, which then apparently, like, when her heart stops, a mass text goes out to every bounty hunter on the island with a $1 billion bounty on the person in which has last seen her, I guess. I don't know how that system works really, but
it's like the emergency alert system, but for when a mob boss dies. Okay. You know?
Everybody's phone goes off with an Amber Alert.
Yeah, just
so our heroes and Zemo exit. I don't even know how to sum these guys up in a group.
The three amigos, the three caballeros.
I'm not talking about Chevy Chase and all of them. And I'm talking about Zemo and Sam and Bucky. They go to exit out the brass monkey, and a bounty hunter war ensues on their heads, which, Jesus Christ, I would never want to be in that scenario of a full island full of bounty hunters. Everybody's out to kill you, and you're in there essentially alone. I can say that most of these bounty hunters are like a Kmart version of like Star Wars bounty hunters. Like they're in no way a Boba Fett or even a Jango Fett.
Boba Fett in a Spirit Halloween costume.
Yes, yeah,
that's what they are.
Like I don't think they have too much to worry about. Like if they had a Mandalorian coming after them, like I'd probably be afraid. But there's no even remotely close Mandalorians on this island. They're all a bunch of like kind of thugs in a sense. So they're exiting. They're going down, like I think they're taking an escape route through like an alleyway or something, and enter someone we haven't seen in a while. And this is the reason I hate recaps before episodes. Is we see Sharon Carter from Winter Soldier and all that other stuff. She makes her entrance, helping out the boys by killing a couple of bounty hunters. And we find out currently we're under the impression, because she tells us, because I mean, she is a secret agent. So I take everything she says with a grain of salt. She tells us that she was not pardoned. Like they pardoned the Winter Soldier, but they didn't pardon Sharon Carter. Like she was the only one not pardoned. Everybody else got pardoned because I guess they were part of the Avengers. I mean, I don't know.
It's a big double standard on that one. Not a fan. Not a fan of that.
It seems too weird that out of everybody, she was the only one that didn't get pardoned. Like that's hard for me to believe in any sense of the matter. Her grandmother or grand aunt, I can't remember the relation between it, was like a major lead role in a lot of the government oriented stuff with SHIELD and everything. Like everything points to you're lying. And that sounds 100%. Terrible to say.
There's more to the story than I think just what we know from the previous films and everything. I think there was more that went on with her behind the scenes that we don't know about. And that's why I think her arc goes a little wider than just this situation and her like swooping in to help somebody real quick.
Right. And
she's up to something.
Yeah, she is. I 100% agree. We learn a little bit more about her. She presents herself as somewhat of anti-hero. She's not about the hero lifestyle. She thinks it's a big joke and a big scam. She expresses kind of a disdain for Captain America, and a disdain towards anybody that's kind of an Avenger. Once again, like in my personal opinion, I feel like it's all an act. I don't think she actually dislikes Captain America or, dislikes the Avengers, because like, I don't know what kind of person could dislike a group of individuals that basically stop the apocalypse from happening twice. And
I think she's bitter because they were pardoned and she wasn't. So she was like, listen, I don't like you anymore.
I mean, to a certain extent, you got to go, come on, Sharon. Like, of course they were pardoned. How are you going to like take the guys that have been essentially three of them actually risked their life to save the earth, and not pardon the rest of them for having that sacrificial fight or disappearing for 5 years, and their life essentially, I guess, apparently going to shambles, because our system is so broken that like you could disappear for 5 years and everything about you is erased out of the system because apparently you're dead. Which I can't remember the legality of like how long you have to be missing before being declared dead. Like there's an actual period of time. We need a tax.
I don't do a whole lot in missing persons.
If you know the answer, how long you have to be missing before being declared dead, let us know in the comments below, because we need to file our taxes for next year and we need to figure this out. Anyways,
yeah, we gotta find some loopholes.
So we find out that Sharon apparently is now also a semi-pirate. Takes those three to her new pad, which is filled with like actual art pieces, and Sam is kind of educated that most of the high-rise tourist traps museums are actually the places that are filled with fakes. And Sam's like, no, that's not true. And then apparently he Googles it, and Bucky just walks by. He's like, so what did Google say? He goes, no. So that was also something new. I didn't know that. I don't know if that's actually true or not, that most of the museums are have actual fakes, or I guess replicas would be a more pinpoint name.
I would believe it. How much money? Yeah, it's that, or the art pieces in museums are on loan from private holders.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was a private holder, I wouldn't be freely sending my stuff to a public space. That's
right.
Putting everything out there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So Sam kind of steps into the role, and when he's talking to Sharon, he steps into the role. It really feels like he's been possessed by the spirit of Captain America when he's talking to Sharon and trying to cross this deal, if you will, of Sharon helping them out, even though she's like anti-hero. She seems to be against their plan and what they're doing there, and makes a deal with her to basically go back to the States and get her pardoned. And I was sitting there the whole time going, okay, I know they can't really pin it on you, but you guys just broke out Zemo, and your plan is to go back and get pardoned after you broke out the guy that blew up a building full of important people. Like,
yeah, like you're asking for a lot of favors for somebody who just broke a lot of laws. All right, calm down with this whole promising pardons thing.
You now have a history in this. This is your second time going against government officials. So
making a lot of assumptions here, Sam.
So he's trying to do the stand-up thing. He feels guilty. I don't blame him. I would probably try to do the same thing, but be a little bit more realistic with it. Meanwhile, Bucky's demeanor is still that of a spy. He's in complete spy mode during all of this. It's not the quirky, joking around Bucky that we've seen in the first 2 episodes. He's on a mission. Like he's zoned into the mission, which is cool. Like you can see the split persona of the character. So they're hanging out at Sharon's. Apparently Sharon has a party. Everybody listens to techno on this island, by the way.
Yeah.
And Sharon,
a lot of European electronic music.
Yes. And Sharon comes up to them, I think mid-party, and apparently she hasn't been enjoying herself because all of a sudden she got a lead on the guy that has created the super soldier serum. So they go into this shipyard where there's obviously just a bunch of shipping containers stacked one on top of another. And we hit our number 4 moment, of the episode, which we are calling Enter Dr. Frankenstein, where we find our scientist who was able to recreate the super soldier serum from the blood of Isaiah. Did I say it right?
Isaiah. I called it. Isaiah's blood was used to extract the super soldier serum to recreate the formula. Nailed it. Yep, and after last week, I went into the Marvel history, and in the comic book series, that's exactly what happens. So didn't even read the comics. See, you don't have to read comics to guess stuff, people. All right? Get off your high horse. You don't have to do it. You guess it. It's fine.
So this scientist, what was his name? You said you had his name. He was not even noteworthy to me.
It's very stupid. Dr. Nagel. Dr. Nagel.
Okay. So this guy,
I like it. It's goofy.
This guy, in my opinion, he is the embodiment of every comic book fan out there. Like he reminds me of from Ghostbusters 2, Igor's little dude that he like hypnotizes. That's who he reminds me of. I can't remember his name, but that's who he is. Janosch. Yes, the museum guy. Yeah, him. That's who he reminds me of. He's very, very Janosch. But he, like, I'm watching this guy and I go, this is literally every comic book fan that has ever said, if I was a hero, I'd be like Captain America. No, like, this is what you would be. You would be this dude that says, hey, I've improved on this super soldier serum. You get none of the really good physical features, but all of like the super strength. You still look like an average human being though. Like you don't get the big burly muscles or anything of that nature. You just look completely normal. And that's why my serum is better. I'm sorry. Like you can lay low. I would much rather the Steve Rogers makeover. Okay. Give me that all day long. Okay. See, like I was like, if I got a super soldier serum, I would want that muscly toned body with the huge biceps pulling down helicopters. Like, come on. Like, who would it? Like, what? Wait, you just want super strength and you still look like a slub? Like, why? What's the point of that? At least you get these muscles and, you know, people, it's like a warning device, right? Like, people aren't going to mess with a super muscular guy. But that's the beauty of it, because you can be like super stealthy and do whatever you want. And the only people who are going to catch on are people who fight you, and chances are you're probably going to kill them. So yeah, so you would make a name for yourself quicker almost. I don't know. Maybe I'm vain. Maybe I just want the muscles. Maybe a little bit. You're like, I just want to be buff. I just want to look good in a bathing suit. Is that too much to ask? Oh my goodness. So this dude in classic bad guy fashion spills his whole backstory, spills his whole plan, and Zemo's like, peekaboo, bam, and just kills him point blank. Just takes him right out. Like he said, listen, I have a mission to finish. I said, no more super soldiers, all right? I said that, and you didn't listen to me, so you're dead. I don't know what's so hard to get. At least, you know, he's got one mission, and he holds to it. Yeah, that's what I was just about to say, is that he never loses track of the mission. Like, he's just like, listen, this is a bad thing. We can't have this, so we're going to put it into it now. And shoots this dude. And, of course, not even skipping a beat, Zemo kills the guy, and then the bounty hunters show up and blow it all to hell. Like, they literally take a bazooka, a rocket launcher or something, and just blow up this shipping container hideaway, which, by the way, why do bad guys always have to have the coolest hideaways? And blows it all to hell, which then ensues like this bounty hunter battle, which we see Sharon kind of almost taking up and filling up for the role of like Black Widow and taking on like 8 or 9 bounty hunters by herself. Little less, I guess, elegantly than Black Widow. Like she's like a Black Widow in training in my book.
Yeah, like she very clearly has a background in this sort of thing. And I mean, she's been hiding out, living her life on this pirate island for a while. So I have a feeling this is not something she's new to. I have a feeling that probably she's been in some situations before where she's had to fight some people. So she's had a lot of practice, I think. Mm-hmm. She does a pretty dang good job. Mm-hmm. I applaud her.
We kind of lose track of Zemo here. He shoots the dude. This lab blows up. And then we see more of the piss poor teamwork between Bucky and Sam, which ensues in a little bit of the back and forth, which was very much Lethal Weapon. Like, I think Sam even says something about it happens in every action movie.
Yeah. You were supposed to go left. What happened to going left?
I almost want to say that same dialogue was in a Lethal Weapon movie. But
I hope so.
They're all worried about where Zemo is and like getting out of there. And we see almost a montage slow walk on top of these shipping containers. And Zemo shows back up, which blew my mind. I thought he was off on the run.
I thought he was gone. I was like, listen, you guys, I got my job done. I got the info I need. You guys, peace out. I don't care anymore. I'm out of prison. Don't care about you. But
yeah, I totally, I thought for sure he peaced out 100%. But he ends up showing up and saving the freaking day. Like he shoots some sort of gas line and then takes out like 4 or 5 of the bounty hunters that were surrounding him. And then they book it. And this is the next part. I watched this episode 3 times and this transition was super weird. So Bucky, Sam, and Sharon go into one of the shipping containers. And then we see Zemo run by the camera and he stops at a shipping container. And like Zemo's part, that makes sense. But then we transition back to Bucky, Sam, and Sharon. And we see them kick open a door of a shipping container. Now, did they go in one side of the shipping container and out the other side? Or did they just go in and hide for a little bit? Okay. So out the other side. I think they
went through. Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you I don't know if you're familiar with the setup of shipping yards, but it's basically just rows and rows and rows of shipping containers.
Right.
This is where my background in the automotive industry comes in. Dealing with parts and shipping parts all the time. Yeah. So just rows and rows of shipping containers. And yeah, they're like set up so that you can access the inventory if you need to and access the shipping containers individually.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm sure they just went through, kicked open the other door, and they're like, we gonna get out of here.
Okay.
And then Zemo rolls up and is driving an Audi again, probably. And he said, it's supercharged.
No, I thought it was a classic Mustang.
Is it? I don't know.
I would have to.
He was driving an Audi. I assumed they sponsored the vehicles for the episode.
It's possible, but I for some reason I thought it was a classic Mustang. I'd have to go back and look again. But yeah, he's got some taste. It's always between his library of cars and then the one he pulls up in on this scene, he likes those old school big block engines, like the really nice cars that will cost you an arm and a leg. And I can't say I blame him too much about it because like those are beautiful cars and we don't get nearly, that kind of car on an everyday market now. So they load up into this hot rod supercharged Zemo mobile and Sharon decides, no, I'm not coming with you. Like just get back to the States and get me pardoned. And we segue with Sharon where she meets up with somebody, I don't know who, at a car and says, some things happened. I'll inform you in the car. It's a big deal. And it looks like she gets in, obviously they're across the pond. So to me, it looked like she got in the back of the car.
She did. So in the credits, this person is listed as being Sharon's bodyguard. So I'm assuming bodyguard / chauffeur.
Okay.
Because I was confused too. I was like, why is she getting in the back of this car? What is going on? But I think that's the situation. So that makes sense.
I kind of think she's working with
the power broker.
I think she's working with either Sword or Shield or whatever they are. I guess technically Sword is the new Shield.
Sword.
So I think she's working for Sword. She's just undercover as what she is in order to get some leads on something else. That's my own personal opinion. I think that there's no way that she hasn't been pardoned. It doesn't make any sense. We do not go Walker free. John Walker, Captain America. We don't go Walker free in this episode. We check in with him a little bit at the beginning of the episode, which kind of just really cements. We find out
he is still a turd. Yeah, still don't like him.
Side note real quick. Apparently, poor Wyatt Russell, dude's, I guess, been getting death threats from fans.
Yeah, he had to delete his Twitter because people were being jerks.
And I was just
this
like,
poor
dude,
man, it's fictional character. It's a fictional character, people. Get it together.
No, this is disgusting.
So rude.
Like, this makes me so angry this is why I hate calling myself a comic book fan, because there's people out there that can't separate reality from fiction, and they ruin things like this. Like, this dude is doing a fantastic job playing this character, literally letting the world hate him for the growth of another character. He's getting nothing out of this other than he's helping Sam and Bucky get to from point A to point B. And everybody is just up in arms because he's not Steve Rogers. That's the point. He's not supposed to be Steve Rogers. He's the imitation Steve that we're supposed to hate, but you don't go as far as threatening the actor that's playing the role. There's too much of this going on. It's so disgusting. In a fan aspect, it makes me just crawl calling myself a fan of this stuff when there's people out there that's like, they go to this extreme. There's no reason. I'm sorry to go off on this tangent, but when I heard about this, I actually got angry. Like, I know in the last episode, I really kind of stressed how much I hated him, but I hated the character. I didn't hate the actor. The actor's doing fantastic, and I can't help but I don't give him enough credit, because if you can make me hate you as a character, you've done your job over and over again. It's few and far in between that I actually hate any actual character. So the factor that you're playing this role good enough to get, I guess you'd say, an emotional reaction out of me, bravo. You're doing a fantastic job. You're doing a better job than half of the people that win Oscars every year. So to all you fans out there, if you're watching this and you're one of the people that have sent a death threat, all I got to say is we don't support you, and you should probably just go cry in a corner and let mama tell you how much of a good boy you are, because you're pathetic.
Circling back on the whole theme of this series, maybe get yourself into therapy and go after that route, because it's not a normal response to send death threats to somebody who's an actor playing a character.
You're 100% right.
Just
they should probably you probably should seek therapy.
Some therapy. It'll help you, I promise. It's a tough road, but you'll get there. All right, it's not worth it.
But yeah, so we get a little tidbit in the beginning there with John Walker, and we see kind of he's still struggling with people not respecting him as the new Cap. You see a little bit of a flare out with the shop owner that they I guess went to and exercised their no-knock warrant from Papa Biden, and got in there, and he is met with, I would say, reluctant help from the shop owner trying to find the Flag Smashers. I think he gets spit on too, doesn't he? he spits in his face.
At the beginning, he spit in. And he's like, do you know who I am? And the guy, my hero, says, yeah, I know. I just don't care. Which, same guy. Same.
Yep. And it really kind of cements in there that, like, no one respects you just because you got that costume and you're wearing it, because you aren't Captain America. And that's the whole basis of the U.S. agent character, is that he is the new Captain America in his head, but nobody sees it as that in everybody else's eyes. Everybody else's eyes, he's imitation. He's, he doesn't deserve that role. He'll never be Steve Rogers kind of thing. And I'm glad we didn't get it overboard, but we got enough to kind of see a little bit more growth of the character of U.S. Agent. We then, after we see Sharon and all that, check in, and we find out that Walker is hot on Sam and Bucky's tail when he goes and checks in at Zemo's prison, which I'm assuming that, like, they thought they should go see Zemo too to get, like, some sort of information from him.
Yeah, that's kinda... in classic, off-brand Cap style, they are late to the game by a couple of days.
Yeah.
Thinking of where they can go to get additional information. So they show up and they're like, oh, it's got to be them because, they had the same idea as we did, but a lot earlier than we did. It's got to be their fault. So he's just bitter that he's not smart enough to get there first.
Yep. And it seems that they don't have evidence that Sam and Bucky are behind this, but he's about to go and work that bad boy angle to get some evidence to basically bust them and take them in, which was enough for me.
He's a rogue agent, so.
Yeah, which was enough for me to walk up to my TV screen and spit on his face. And then so that's pretty much all we get of U.S. Agent John Walker this episode, which, okay, cool, because, like, he really got me flared last one, so I think I need at least an episode break from him. And we check back in with Sam and Bucky, who are on the international Zemo flights again, and they're going to some other destination, possibly tropical, we don't know. And Sam kind of hammers home the point that he almost was, like, reluctant to take the shield because of what it stood for, and how it almost sounded like he agreed with Zemo. I mean, I don't know if I was just kind of reading into it or I was under Zemo's control, but when he says maybe he did mess up by giving the shield away and he should have burnt it or buried it, it felt more like he was kind of almost on Zemo's side. He sees it more as like a bad thing.
So I think that you're right on there, that he thinks that it's not the best thing.
Right. And he's pretty hung up about what's his face? Can't remember his name now. Elias.
Oh, Isaiah. You really
Isaiah.
You really can't get that, guys.
There's two things I'm terrible at. Names and dates. I can't remember either of those. I'm terrible at them, but Sam's pretty hung up about that. And he's hung up. I don't know. It almost seems like Zemo's gotten to him, like that, hey, yeah, we did hold him up on a pedestal. And then Bucky's saying, listen, if you don't want that shield, the world needs a Captain America, and I'll take the shield. And I'm like, oh, so we could possibly see a Bucky Captain America run. Like, the path can go both ways at this moment in time with this show. So I was waiting almost like the whole episode. We check in with our flag smashers, which apparently they're still stealing supplies and for their, I don't know, I guess, veteran camp. I don't even know exactly what was happening there with the camp and all that stuff.
So they're getting supplies to the repatriation camps. So basically how we've got like children in the border facilities right now, that's what's happening with the repatriation. All these people came back and they didn't know where to put them. So there's like overcrowding. And we hear this little note about, what's her face's mom, Carly Morgenthau, whatever her name is, the short, angry girl, as you call her. We get word that her mom was diagnosed with tuberculosis, and there's a little quip of like, there's too many people in these repatriation facilities, and so this overcrowding causes disease like crazy, so she has tuberculosis, and so so they're sending supplies and additional things to these repatriation facilities to make people more comfortable, and that's their whole thing of like making people better that have come back from the blip, and those people that are still there.
Okay, so these are people
that they're also treated well.
These are people that came back from the blip, because I was under the impression it was people that were around during the blip. And because the government...
that's what I'm not sure of, because in this last episode, that's the conversation of like these repatriation camps.
Yeah.
But then previously they were said to want to fight for the people who have been around.
Right.
So I am not totally sure what it is. It seems like unless people have been packed into camps because they were misplaced, because those resources were given to the people who came back from the blip, which could be a thing.
Yeah, that was kind of the impression I got, was that everybody that was coming back from the blip was being prioritized, and everybody that was alive during the blip has now taken a back burner because...
Yeah, so I wasn't aware it was so extreme that they were being pushed into camps.
No kidding,
and,
right?
Pushed out of their homes and stuff. So that, I retract from my statement from last week stating that it was maybe an extreme reaction. But if that's the case, then yeah, girl, be mad. Be mad about it. That's not cool.
I mean, so like I was thinking back to Spider-Man Far From Home, where Aunt May says that she came back from the blip to her apartment, and the people that were living there now were like completely just like scared shitless. They thought they were a ghost and stuff like that, and like that angle was the comedic angle. But like really, if you think about it, like this person that lived here shows back up, and now there's like a breach of contract because she signed a contract. She's actually back, so technically it's her apartment still, and it's like, what do you do? Who leaves?
See, that's a good point. I completely forgot about that. So yeah, that's why we have the camps then. It's a whole mess, man. It's a whole mess.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like there's so much more to that whole situation that needs to be explored. But I don't think most people would want to like actually give a crap.
It's
a one shot would do me well. Like give me a one shot as to the whole situation.
Yeah, just a real quick catch up.
Yep.
Give me a Marvel Legends update on the politics behind the repatriation
or just
process.
like a half. They should do that. Honestly, they should do like Disney should do a show, Marvel one shot. I can't remember if they are or not. I know they got the What If, but the Marvel one shot where they just touch on characters and other things that like other words would not get enough. Would just kind of get brazed over like this. The blip ordeal and everything, and how human interaction and all that other stuff, how that's all being played out behind the scenes that we're not getting to see in these main lines. But yeah, so they're stealing supplies. They hit up what is like a location, and I can't remember what the location was, but we see Carly do the turn that I was talking about. They take the stuff. They have the guards beaten and tied up in this building, and they're leaving. And the one guy she's with says, aren't you going to take your car? And she says no. And they get into his, and all of a sudden the car along with the building blows up. And the guy turns to her and says, there was people in that building. And she goes, this is the only
language they understand.
Yeah, the only language they understand.
Only language they understand, yeah.
And I go, oh,
which
here's our turn.
Marvel.
Here's the turn.
And Marvel bringing in all the real things that keep this discussion about race and all this going, which I am super excited for. Like, we need to bring that to the forefront and like tie it in because it's a thing. But also, I mean, rioting and destroying property is the only thing that gets people to pay attention. We learned that over the last year and a half. So
yep. Yeah.
She's right.
And then, I 120% agree that like sometimes that's the only thing people listen to. And there's a lot of people that I shouldn't say a lot of people. I would say an outspoken few people that are upset that Marvel has chosen to go this route to highlight the racial profiling and all that stuff. There's a loud selective group that says, I don't want reality in my comics. And the thing that I say to these people when they're talking to me about it, like, oh, I'm done with Marvel. They're trying to be all PC and, cramming this stuff down my throat. I go, Marvel's been doing this since the 1940s. Like, the big boys went to Jack Kirby and said, hey, put more white people in Black Panther. And Jack Kirby said, yeah, okay, sure, I will. The next issue, the Black Panther beat up the KKK. That was his thing. He said, you want more white people? All right, here's your white people. And then you have things like the X-Men, who that's a whole comic of diversity and profiling and discrimination in itself. Like, this is nothing new for Marvel.
And commentary on disability, yeah. Yeah,
this is nothing at all new. Like, this is Marvel's thing. This is what they have always done, is they take and God, jeez. And it's also life imitates art, or art imitates life. Whatever the saying is that's how you make things relatable. And if you're gonna get mad because you can't escape what's actually happening in the world for 50 minutes, then you're part of the problem. If you want to ignore it, you're part of the problem. Whether you like it or not, you need to face that. I'm sorry. It's just that's my personal opinion. If you disagree with me, you disagree with me. I could care less, because I personally think if you're willing to ignore the factor that this stuff happens, then you are part of the problem and you need to reassess yourself. So after we see our newfound angry below average terrorist make her big bada boom, we then go back to Bucky and Sam and Zemo, who have now landed at a different location, which I don't think they ever said what location this was, but the intro commentary to the scene makes me feel like they're in newfound Sokovia. But I don't know.
Something. Yeah, I think they're still outside of the U.S., but I'm not totally sure where. They never set that up for us.
Yeah, they're definitely outside of the U.S. for sure. Yeah, there was no title as to where they were at, but they get to this location that Zemo's taking them. They're about to walk in, and out of nowhere, Bucky's like, hey, I'm going to take a walk. And I'm like, oh, he's going to go reflect about, how he snapped and turned into the Winter Soldier and how it was so easy for him. I was wrong, which enters us into our number 5 moment of the episode. And the ending of the episode is Wakanda Forever. And we see Bucky walk just a little bit behind where he leaves his comrades and pick up this little bit of technology that looks very, very familiar. The material of it looks very familiar. And when he picks up that first one, I'm like, is that vibranium? I'm pretty sure this is vibranium. And then he picks up the second one. I go, that's definitely vibranium. And I go, and that tech is pretty high tech. I go, this is either SWORD or this is Wakanda. And then he's walking down the alleyway. He's talking to, I like to call them ghosts when you can't see who they're actually talking to. So he's talking to this ghost in the alleyway, and he says, "You dropped something," and he's like holding this tech in his hand, and they're doing that circle pan, which I love so much that they do in these Marvel stuff, and they're following Bucky in the way he's turning, and it comes around for that last pan, and he senses who it is, and he turns around. He's like, "I was wondering when I was gonna see you," and this lady in a very sleek black attire says, "I'm here for Zemo," in Wakandan. And I go, oh man, Wakanda is here to get Zemo to take him out for killing Panther's daddy. And I was like, things are getting super crazy because we'll have pirates after them. We're going to have Wakandans after them. And like, not to mention, that's going to screw up relations between White Wolf and the Wakandans. Like, hey, why are you helping this dude that killed our king and we helped you? Is this how you repay people here in America? Like, you ungrateful piece of crap. Give me back that arm.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this pans out, but I'm also excited because we have a Wakanda series coming to Disney Plus at some point.
Yeah, we do.
So I'm wondering, is this going to feed in deeper to that? Are we going to get more info on what that series is going to look like? How is this going to pan out? I'm very excited. I love it. I love it.
I hope that Wakanda series deals strictly on the security force of Wakanda. Just because A, they're mostly women, and B, I think it'd be really cool to see like how that army like handles all the other stuff, because obviously it's high tech but primal in fighting techniques. So to see that kind of like work its way out in a story fashion, I would be really interested to see that.
Yeah. I don't know what we'll see out of it. Maybe the transfer of power, because we've lost Chadwick Boseman and they've already RIP, and we have already heard that they're not replacing him, which I'm thankful for, because who can replace Chadwick Boseman?
Nobody.
So maybe
that
we'll
guy...
see that series will be, yeah, exactly. So maybe our transition to power will be that series, and that'll set us up for jumping back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Once we get new movies, but I'm very excited for it. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more of Wakanda, because they're badass as hell, and I want to see more of Wakanda.
I love what they did.
But yeah,
visually with Wakanda, I think it looks amazing.
It's so cool. I love it so much.
Okay, so that will do it for our weekly recap of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Sam and Bucky BFS forever, as I codename call it. As always, you should be following us on social media by now if you are not. So head over to Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, follow us. If you want to pick up your Team Sam and Team Bucky t-shirts, they are still live over on the Teespring. Links in the description below. And consider becoming a Patreon of ours, helping us pay the bills. We did not disappear during the blip, so we are still back paying on yearly bills. So head over to patreon.com/kapowcast and consider becoming a Patreon. And until next week, Christy, thank you again. I will see you next week where we talk about episode 4 of this amazing show.
All right. See you next week.
See you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.